When Dexter New Blood brought back Harrison Morgan, fans expected him to follow directly in his father's footsteps. A dark passenger, a violent destiny, a son doomed to repeat the sins of Dexter himself. But instead, the writers completely changed Harrison's story, and in doing so, they didn't just save his character, they saved the entire Dexter franchise. Let's rewind. Harrison was introduced as Dexter's son, abandoned in Argentina, raised away from the shadow of Miami. Everything about his setup screamed tragedy. A boy haunted by his father's choices, genetically tied to darkness, fated to become a killer. For years, fans speculated about Harrison's future, and most theories leaned toward him becoming Dexter 2.0. But here's the twist. The writers made the bold choice to break that cycle. In New Blood, Harrison isn't just a mirror of Dexter, he's a commentary on Dexter. Where Dexter justified killing with a code, Harrison sees through it. He doesn't blindly accept the dark passenger as destiny. He questions it, he challenges it, and most importantly, he exposes the hypocrisy in Dexter's world. That killing, no matter how justified, still leaves blood on your hands. This shift rewrites Harrison's story completely. Instead of glorifying the idea of a killer's legacy, it confronts it. Instead of giving us a teenage Dexter, it gives us a character who asks, what if the cycle could break? And that's why the franchise survives. Because if Harrison had simply become a copy of his father, Dexter's story would have been doomed to repeat itself until it collapsed under its own weight. By making Harrison different, the writers opened up new storytelling territory. Think about it. Harrison represents choice, the possibility of rejecting darkness. He still has the trauma, the impulses, the temptation, but instead of embracing it, his conflict is whether he can rise above it. That gives the show something Dexter himself never had: hope. And let's not forget how this choice reframes Dexter's entire legacy. When Dexter dies in New Blood, it's not just about ending his life, it's about ending the cycle. Harrison doesn't just pull the trigger, he symbolically kills the destiny everyone thought he was chained to. In that moment, Harrison's story becomes about liberation, not repetition. And that's what saved the franchise from collapsing into cliché. Because now, with Harrison at the center, the Dexter universe has endless possibilities. He could still wrestle with the darkness, sure, but he could also use his trauma in a different way. Not to kill, but to prevent killing. To be the first Morgan who doesn't become a monster. That tension between what he feels and what he chooses is far richer than watching a young Dexter copy his dad's murders. And here's the genius of it. By rewriting Harrison, the show gives us something Dexter himself never achieved: a chance at real evolution. Dexter was trapped by his code, by his lies, by his inability to change. But Harrison, he's free. His story isn't about following his father's footsteps. It's about escaping them. Did you know that Dexter Resurrection just quietly dropped the most important lesson of the entire franchise? One that New Blood completely missed? Because no matter what spin-off, prequel, or sequel we get, the truth is crystal clear. Dexter Morgan can never be replaced. And the way Resurrection builds its story proves it. Think about it. In New Blood, the entire focus shifted to Harrison. Fact 1. Harrison was framed as Dexter's spiritual successor, a boy who inherited the dark passenger but was supposed to channel it differently, maybe even more ethically. Fact 2. The finale positioned Harrison as the possible new Dexter, putting him in the spotlight after killing his own father. But here's the problem. Resurrection dismantles that idea. Instead of building Harrison into a carbon copy of Dexter, the show pivots. Harrison's trauma, his resentment, and even his understanding of Dexter's code are shown as flawed echoes, not a true continuation. And this is where Resurrection nails what New Blood got wrong. You can't just pass the torch of Dexter Morgan. The dark passenger isn't a bloodline. It's a unique manifestation of Dexter's trauma, his intellect, and his cold precision. Now here's where the theory gets wild. Resurrection deliberately writes Harrison as a mirror failure. He tries to embody the code but bends it. He wants to channel his darkness but hesitates. He isn't disciplined, and more importantly, he doesn't feel the kill the way Dexter did. This isn't bad writing. It's intentional. The writers are showing us that the universe of Dexter cannot sustain a replacement. You either are Dexter Morgan, or you aren't. And look at how Resurrection treats Dexter's memory. Every major plot beat revolves around him. The killers reference him. The law enforcement world still fears him. Even Harrison can't live without defining himself against the shadow of his father. Dexter doesn't just haunt the show. He's the gravitational center pulling every storyline into orbit. That's the writers telling us, subtly but loudly, that Dexter Morgan isn't just a character. He's the franchise itself. So what does this rewrite about motive? Harrison's entire arc shifts. Instead of being the heir to Dexter's throne, his motive becomes the opposite. proving that he isn't Dexter. Every mistake, every slip, every emotional breakdown shows us that Harrison is desperately trying to escape his father's shadow while simultaneously being crushed by it. That's the real tragedy, and the real lesson New Blood missed. In other words, Resurrection didn't just save the franchise, it reminded us why it exists in the first place. Not for legacy characters, not for spin-offs, not even for passing the torch. It exists because of one man, Dexter Morgan. And that truth can never be replaced.